This is Steve Zeltzer with WorkWeek. And this past week, there was a hearing at the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, a special hearing on the situation of Treasure Island and the situation of the residents, particularly at Treasure Island, and the workers and the testing of the radioactive contaminants at Treasure Island. And many residents, whistleblowers testified that there were serious systemic problems of cover up, falsification of the testing, and harm for the residents and workers there at the island, which is run by the City of County of San Francisco through a special agency that was set up under Willie Brown. And there is a lawsuit that has been filed to protect the residents and others at Treasure Island. And Stanley Goff is the lawyer who filed that lawsuit for residents, and he's joining us today on WorkWeek. Welcome to WorkWeek, Stanley.
Thank you. How are you doing?
Good. So Stanley, why don't you talk about your lawsuit, the relevance of it to that hearing, and what is happening for the protection of the residents, their health and safety, and the whole cover-up that's been going on at Treasure Island.
So the lawsuit in general was brought on behalf of the residents to hold the Navy, to hold Tetra Tech, to hold Shaw Environmental, City and County San Francisco, which involves the San Francisco Department of Public Health, and TIDA, the Treasure Island Development Authority, accountable for their role in allowing people or citizens or human beings, for that matter, to live on Treasure Island, knowing that it's totally contaminated and dangerous for any human beings to be around.
And what has been the effect of for the residents living on an island that was contaminated, and why weren't they told that the island was a nuclear radioactive testing site for the Navy?
Well, the effects of people living on the island has been numerous. There are people who have died. There are people who have different types of cancers as we speak, rashes that are unexplained. Young people with cancer. I believe there's an article in the San Francisco Bayview that just came out the other day. A 10-year-old boy who was living on Treasure Island, or still lives there, he now has a brain tumor. So these are the things, or the effects of people. These are the effects of people living on the island who have been exposed to the radiation. Obviously, these are things that happen. You get cancer. You get different types of toxic poisons that affect people when they're exposed to toxic areas, such as Superfund sites, which is the case here. Regarding the cover-up, in my opinion, or we're contending that there has been a cover-up regarding the radiation exposure, because there's a lot of money to be made if the island is fully developed for commercial or market commercial interest. Condos, houses, whatnot on the island. So they're trying to cover up. They don't want anybody to know about the radiation exposure, because it's billions of dollars that can be made, potentially hundreds of billions of dollars that potentially can be made for a lot of people who have an interest in developing the property.
And at the hearing, I don't know if you were looking at the hearing, but their nuclear radioactive assets experts who there said that there was no proper inspection of the radioactive damages. The state of California, now under Gavin Newsom, is not doing a proper job. Were you surprised that the experts, this guy Tybee, said that there really wasn't a proper oversight and inspection of the radioactive contamination on the island?
I'm not surprised at all. And yes, I did see the hearing. And actually, when I seen the hearing, it prompted me to file an amended complaint, or to seek leave to amend the complaint, to add a couple of other players that I feel are centrally involved in this situation. One being Amy Brownell, and we could talk about that a little later. But no, I'm not surprised at what Matt Taibbi has said. To me, it's clear that there was a lot of cleanup that should have taken place that did not, and that there are certain individuals and entities, such as the California Department of Public Health, that either looked the other way or kind of ignored how the Navy was being inadequate in cleaning up the area to make sure it was properly safe.
And one of the things that came up at the hearing is they asked a representative of the Department of Public Health, have you made any investigation about the residents? It is a city-controlled property. Have you investigated what the health and safety conditions are of the residents, the workers there? And his his response was, "We're not really responsible for that." I find that rather shocking, considering they are in the city and county of San Francisco, and you would think the Department of Public Health would have something to do about protecting the health and safety of the residents of San Francisco.
Without question, I totally agree with you. And that ties into certain members of the San Francisco Department of Public Health who is been out there in the newspapers that certain individuals purposely put out there or champion a particular type of helicopter survey that was not adequate to determine the true radiation levels on Treasure Island and in Hunters Point, and they put that survey out just to placate people, to make people think that it was safe, when in fact they knew that it was not. So that kind of ties into what you just said.
And also, you have a situation, as you said, that it is a Superfund site. It was a nuclear radioactive testing site for the Navy on how to survive a nuclear war for naval servicemen. So there was a large amount of radioactive contaminants that were spread on the island. There was one woman who testified at the hearing who was from a Navy family. They were contaminated. They were at that school, Treasure Island School, which was shut down. Now there's charter school. There's a charter school on Treasure Island. Now, at the same time, they're continuing this construction. Dust is flying all over the island. It doesn't seem to be there's still any oversight either by Cal OSHA, Department of Toxics, a state agency, or the Department of Public Health in San Francisco. What is going on at Treasure Island? Because these workers and residents seem to be contaminated again as a result of this mass construction project.
I mean, you're right. It appears that it's just more the same. I mean, there's no way to make an area safe that has been totally exposed or totally saturated with radiation. Radiation lasts for thousands of years. And so there's no way to make the island safe, and it's a misnomer for the Navy or any of these other officials to make people think that one day they will be able to make it safe for residents. It's a farce. It's a sham. From the jump. And that's why we had this lawsuit, one, to stop what's going on right now, but really just to bring a light to the fact that no one should be on that island, period. Maybe they should never be on the island, because the radiation levels are so high on the island that there's just no way to ever make it safe for human habitability.
It appears that the island was a dumping ground for Black poor people to be basically put on the island, veterans. You think it has something to do with systemic racism, that a large number of the residents who have been contaminated do have cancer, are Black or poor people on that island?
Yes, I believe that has that plays a large role in it. Same with the area of Hunters Point. Same with Midway Village in Bayshore. That's another site that was highly toxic from the PG&E from the 1940s, in which they had a lot of Black people move in that area later on. These are people who the government in general historically has felt that they have no voice. They're disenfranchised. No one's going to care about what happens to them, and they can make money at the same time while exposing these groups of people to dangers that they would not expose their own people to. And yes, I do believe that it's systemic racism that plays a large role in that. Yes, I do.
And environmental racism. I mean, there are many highly toxic areas in Northern California and around this country where you find large numbers of Blacks, Latinos, poor people who are basically stuck there and living in these places and being contaminated and sickened by that. And one of the issues that came up at the hearing was the issue of an environmental engineer, Amy Brownell, who is working for the city and county of San Francisco and whose salary is being paid for by Lennar, the developer. And this has been reported on by the San Francisco Bayview first, and even by the San Francisco Chronicle, that she was also engaged in helping to sell homes in Hunters Point and possibly Treasure Island, and not letting people know about the dangers. Basically, she was a salesperson for Lennar. What did you think about that? And why is London Breed still keeping her on the payroll at the Department of Public Health?
That's a good question, and we're going to find out. But I can tell you now that Amy Brownell is a central figure in our lawsuit that I sought leave to amend with the court, and she is going to be named as a defendant in the case, along with San Francisco vicariously through her, based on her role in selling the notion that Treasure Island is safe for human habitability when she knows that it's not. And in the complaint, we are bringing up the fact that she created a survey that was not adequate. She knew it was not adequate from the beginning, and she put it out there for the sole purpose of placating individuals and providing misinformation about the true dangers of Treasure Island.
And this cover up, if you've been in your suit and has been going on for decades, you have a situation where the mayor of San Francisco, London Breed, is aware of this, yet she's continuing the construction of the island and Treasure Island, the selling of condos. And also you have Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein, who are aware of the fact that this is called a $1 billion eco fraud because $1 billion of our tax dollars have been spent supposedly to cover up, supposedly to test Treasure Island and to remove toxins, and it failed. So there's been no congressional investigation. Are you surprised that the U.S. government, there's been no congressional investigation of $1 billion eco fraud, and the remediation of the island and of Hunters Point has not taken place despite such a large amount of money, tax dollars being spent on it by Tetra Tech, Test America? Many companies have been employed to test and supposedly clean it up.
You know, normally I would be surprised that the government is not taking a more pivotal role in trying to investigate this $1 billion eco fraud, as you phrase it. But when you look at behind the scenes and who's behind the different contracts that are taking place, I believe certain individuals are related to certain members of Congress. I don't want to name names. I'm sure you have expounded on this in the past, but there are certain connections between members of Congress and certain developers that are involved in the Hunters Point development and Treasure Island. And I think that may have played a large role and will continue to play a role in why the government in general is not investigating this eco fraud. But we'll get to the bottom of it as things, the lawsuit moves forward or progresses. I'm sure things will start to surface or pop up for people to discuss.
And we're talking with Stanley Goff, who is the lawyer for residents of Treasure Island who've been harmed by the fact that it's been contaminated by this radioactive dump, and they haven't been informed of it, and they are still fighting for their health care support and that kind of thing. And Stanley, where is the lawsuit at this point? Because one of the things that companies and governments do is try to bleed people to the point where they can't go on, or it takes decades, people die before there's any justice. You think that that's the plan of the city and county of San Francisco, the Navy, and the U.S. government?
Yeah, personally, yeah, I think that's their plan. But there's ways in which we can still push it forward or make things move in a more expedited manner. I'm not concerned about that. You know, they're following their traditional motions to dismiss and stuff like that, challenging different aspects of the complaint. But the complaint as a whole is solid. The people that have been named as defendants in the case, there's significant evidence that we can prove to bring our case forward. So I'm not concerned about it.
And what do you think people should do who are concerned about the residents and the workers and do want justice done, and yet the construction continues? Should they demand that Mayor London Breed and Congresswoman Pelosi take action to stop this construction? That the EPA, apparently it was excluded from being a Superfund site, even though Hunters Point, which is similar, was a Superfund site. It seems there's a massive collusion and obstruction of justice involved in the development of Treasure Island.
Yes, definitely. Everybody who's out there, everybody's listening to this program or who's reading about this, they're all constituents. If they live in San Francisco, they're a constituent of Mayor London Breed. Yes, they should get on the phone. Yes, they should be protesting. Yes, they should send the mayor letters. They're constituents of Nancy Pelosi if they live in San Francisco. And Dianne Feinstein, yes, they should be sending letters. They should be bringing a notice to these people that they are aware of what's going on and they're not accepting it. And I think the more people who come together and present a louder voice, I think the more that these people or these government officials will be forced to act on our behalf or in the interest of the people.
Okay, well, I want to thank you very much for joining us. We've been talking with Stanley Goff. He is a lawyer representing the residents and others at Treasure Island fighting for justice who have serious health and safety problems and continue to suffer as a result of living on a radioactive contaminated island. So thanks for joining us on Work Week, Stanley.
Thank you. Thank you. You have a good day. Thank you.